My name is Rick. I'm with PLP Battery Supply and plpbattery.com. And today we're going to talk just real quickly about easy diagnostics on a battery charger and what you need to look for if you've got one that's not working properly and what it takes to fix it. You don't need very many tools. You need something to take the sheet metal screws out of the cabinet so that you can take the top off and expose the innards. You might need a little screwdriver. This is going to come in handy as a pointer. And usually a pair of needle nose pliers and a multimeter or voltmeter is always a good idea. So I've already taken the screws out of this thing just to save some time. And so we're going to pop the top off of it, and then we'll start talking about what to look for. So if you got a charger that's not working, the first thing you need to determine is if it has AC input that's making it to the transformer. In other words, can you hear the transformer hum? Have you tested to see if there's any output at all? Is it just low output? Is it no output? So let's just start with the assumption that the transformer's working. You can hear it humming, and if you can hear it humming, I can almost guarantee you that it's got the correct output. These things are not rocket surgery. They're pretty simple, and if they're making a noise and you can feel the vibration a little bit, it's probably working, and your issue is more than likely downstream. If it's not vibrating, not humming, look at your AC cord and check the connections inside. So it could be a switch because the AC cord goes to the switch, but that's not where the most common issues lie. So we're going to move right beyond the switch and the transformer and go to our number one culprit, which is the next thing in the stream. When I say the stream, I'm talking about how the AC gets from here to the DC here that charges your battery. So you can just follow it right through the battery charger and find out where it's failing. 9 times out of 10 on these little guys, the point of failure is going to be right here at the back. There's an aluminum, in this case, aluminum heat sink, and it's got a 2-diode rectifier attached to it. The rectifier in these chargers, and it's not just a Schumacher, this is just what I brought for example, all these little chargers are pretty much the same. 9 times out of 10, the failure point is the rectifier. The diodes, in this case it's got 2 button diodes. If I were guessing, I would say those are probably 25 amp diodes, and they're going to fail somehow. They will either, I've seen everything. They'll overheat, they'll melt the retainer, they'll crack, they'll blow up. You might see it's been so hot that the wire melts the insulation away. They can go from a pretty mundane failure to something pretty dramatic. But at any rate, that's the most common thing. That's just a case of replacing the rectifier in the charger. And sometimes, like in this one, you can replace just the diode set. You'll need the diode repair kit for that, but that's a relatively inexpensive repair. It can be done, it's not difficult. As long as all the wires are reusable, you can reuse those. You might have to make a new wire. You might have to crimp a little 1/4-inch push-on connector like this one has onto a new wire and make a new lead. But again, not difficult. If the rectifier is okay, but you still don't have any current making it out, check the meter. Normally meters aren't current failures. Normally a meter is just a meter failure. It will normally present as a needle that doesn't move at all, or a needle that's stuck somewhere in between and won't move when the battery's charging. If the continuity through the meter has failed, if the internal shunt has failed somehow, that's a heat-related issue. Normally if you look at the back of the meter right here, you'll see where it's melted and disfigured, and it's probably made some smoke. Again, pretty easy to diagnose, and those meters are generally available as a replacement part. Again, you're going to follow that wire off the meter, trying to get to the outside, and it's going to go through, in this case, a circuit breaker. So there's a little automatic reset circuit breaker here, and you can check that very easily with a multimeter. Again, you can just check continuity from one end of it to the other and see if it's getting good continuity through there. If it's not, then you can replace that breaker. Again, not an expensive repair, not difficult. And then the last thing is the cable that runs, in this case, from the circuit breaker out to the clamps, and then its brother cable is also going out to the other clamp. It's the cable that's attached, the wire that's attached to the heat sink. This is the positive cable that's attached to the heat sink. That's why we're going to call this a positive output rectifier. But now you're down to checking this cord. And generally speaking, on these small chargers, I would say probably 95% of the failures are going to be either the rectifier or the cord. Save yourself some time and check this cord before you ever take the cover off. Different manufacturers have different idiosyncrasies, and they have kind of easy to determine failure modes. And that's going to be, I'm going to be polite about that. In this case, our friends at Schumacher have had a history of supplying chargers like this with a little 50 amp clamp, which is fine, it's all it needs to be. But rather than soldering the connection between the wire and the clamp, they crimp it. When these chargers come through our shop, we generally just clip the clamp, the original OEM Schumacher clamp, off of there and replace it with a new clamp because they're cheap. And then we solder it on. Just by soldering, you're going to eliminate a lot of your problems. But when you pull this thing and put it on the bench and you're starting to look at it before you ever pull the cover off, take a look at this part of the clamp on both sets, on the positive and the negative, and just take a look and see what it looks like. If it's loose, if it's been getting hot, if the insulation's melted away a little bit, if you can, if part of that wire is exposed, and that's all related to being high resistance. And high resistance typically means loose. You just need to clip it off and replace it. Another way that these things will fail, and this can be for any of them, whether they're soldered or not, is they have a issue right where the wire comes out of the back of the little clamp, where the wire gets bent frequently and it breaks inside the insulation. So over time, you're liable to have a break inside the insulation that you don't see visually. You can feel it a lot of times, but you can't see it, and you don't know it unless you test it again with a continuity test. But if you can feel that thing being a little loose inside there, if you can feel the break under the insulation, just clip it off, give away that couple inches and get down to where you've got clean copper in the wire and just put a new clamp on it. Save yourself some headache. You can, a lot of times, you can clip the wire off one side of these things and just trim it off close right here. Turn it over, and the other side of the clamp is ready to go with a new attachment for wire right there. So you can reuse the same clamp twice if it's good and clean and there's no other issues. You can turn it over and save $1. But either way, you're probably going to have to repair that connection or replace the clamp. Again, save yourself some time. Do that. Check that first. That's most of the time on these things. I would say a lot of the time on these. That's all you have to do, and you're back in business. Your dead charger that you were about to put out at the curb is back in business, and you're back on the road. So, continuity at the clamps. Check those clamp connections. If you have to get inside, make sure that the thing is humming, that it's making that the AC transformer is working, and then your next thing is going to be look at the rectifier. If all that stuff is good, then you're looking at meter, DC breaker, and that's about it. If you're not getting any hum out of the transformer, again, the AC cord and maybe the switch. That's it. These are not terribly complicated. So if you get all that stuff repaired, everything's working, this charger is going to be just like brand new. So if you have any questions about this, you can always contact us at PLP Battery Supply or check us out at plpbattery.com. And we're happy to talk you through checking these things out. That's pretty much all there is to working on one of these little guys. I'm Rick, and thanks for watching.